going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Kevin Jegwitz. This is the Kaged Review, and this is my review for Spider-Man 3. Continuing on with the Spider-Man series, the third from director Sam Raimi, man. So, I really like the first two movies. I did my reviews about them. They both got an 8 out of 10. I actually think the second one got an 8.5 out of 10. I really like the second one. It was actually taken a little bit more serious from the other two in the trilogy. So I had big expectations coming into Spider-Man 3. And damn, was I and just about everybody who was a Spider-Man fan let down. This movie was just way too convoluted, very clunky the way it was designed. There was too many moving parts, too many characters, too many plot lines, too many subplot lines, and it all got very, very jumbled up. So you have Tobey Maguire as Peter Parker, Spider-Man, Rosemary Harris as Aunt May Parker, Cliff Robertson as Uncle Ben Parker, Kirsten Dunst as Mary Jane Watson, James Franco as Harry Osborn, who turns into the Goblin, J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson, Thomas Hayden Church comes in as Flint Marko, Sandman, you have Bryce Dallas Howard as Gwen Stacy. I really don't think you needed that addition. Topher Grace falls from grace as Eddie Brock, Venom. Bruce Campbell doing his cameo. He had a cameo in all three Spider-Mans. This time he's a French maitre d'. Really funny moment in the movie, and I absolutely love Bruce Campbell. Elizabeth Banks as Miss Brent. Willem Dafoe does a little cameo as Harry Osborn, Green Goblin. Elia Baskin is Mr. Ditkovich, who is a Polish landlord for Peter Parker. And Magina Tova as Ursula Ditkovich, who is the landlord's daughter. So you start out pretty soon in this movie with Harry Osborn coming after Peter Parker as the Green Goblin. He uses a solution to enhance himself. He's got the glider. It really does not work out to his advantage, though. Pretty cool fight scene, even though there was some pretty bad CGI in this fight scene. Some of the backgrounds, man, when they were moving through alleyways, it was very visible, very bad. But it ends with Peter Parker getting the upper hand, putting a line of web across that Harry flies right into pretty high up, kind of gets clotheslined and falls down, cracks his head pretty good. And so that causes Harry Osborn to have temporary amnesia, which kind of takes that whole story arc away, which was pretty sad, because when you think about it, that should have been the focus of this movie. Harry Osborn, jealous of Peter Parker since movie 1, finds out that he killed his father, Norman Osborn. And you actually get a clip of Norman, you know, like I said, cameo. And so it was just nonsense, man. So, and then you go from there to just a lot of just stuff happening. You have this black thing that falls from a comet through the sky, and this alien life form attaches itself to Peter Parker's moped and goes home with him and eventually turns him into Black Spider-Man. You have that. You have Mary Jane Watson at a theater not doing very good. Critics are giving her a lot of crap. She eventually gets fired for not being good enough. Aunt May Parker is about to lose her house because money's way too tight and she's really struggling. You've got the Sandman, what's his name? Flint Marko. Flint Marko is like dealing with his daughter has cancer and he's trying to get money for that. And so he winds up getting caught in this machine that deatomizes you and turns into Sandman. You have Eddie Brock, who is a photographer now for the Bugle as well as Spider-Man, and he winds up forging fake pictures of Spider-Man doing bad stuff that J. Jonah Jameson wanted, and then the feud between him and Peter Parker. You have Gwen Stacy there just to make a figure that Peter Parker uses to make Mary Jane Watson jealous. So many things happening, so convoluted. It just, none of it really gelled very well, and a lot of it didn't really make that much sense, to be very honest. And I gotta be honest, this whole symbiote thing with Peter Parker and this alien life form was just done poorly. Peter Parker becoming this like really weird, suave, but asshole centric personality just did not work for me at all. Everything from him going into the store and coming out in a new outfit and like doing this goofy dance, to him taking Gwen Stacy to a bar where Mary Jane Watson is now a singer, and this just god awful dance scene where he's using Gwen Stacy to make Mary Jane jealous. That was terrible. Like, the whole thing was terrible. But the worst atrocity in this whole movie was Topher Grace as Eddie Brock. And I don't know that I can say that it was Topher Grace's fault. The writing was bad. The dialogue was bad. I mean, just what they did with Venom as a whole was bad. And so there's this thing where, of course, noise at a certain octave really affects this alien creature. So Peter Parker is up in this, like, loft where the church bell is going off in this cathedral. And so the bell's going off, and he rips the alien off of him, and it attaches to Eddie Brock, who is now very pissed off at Peter Parker because Peter Parker made him lose his job over that forgery. And so every bit of that was cheesy. From Eddie Brock, the Venom mask coming off, you see Brock, and he's like, oh, my spider sense is tingling, and just no, that was a scene that needed to be scrapped. How they thought that was a good idea, I don't know. And there were so many things you could pick apart in this movie that just weren't great. It did have some cool moments. It was not completely horrible. It definitely had some saving graces. One of the saving graces in particular was Sandman, some of the special effects they used for it, especially when he first comes out of the sand, when he was like demolecularized and he's trying to pull himself back together, and it's very awkward, and he takes his first step and the sand falls apart, and so he has to really concentrate and form his body again and learn how to walk like that. I thought it was really great the way they did that. Some of the action sequences with him and Spider-Man I thought were really good. The fight between him and Spider-Man in the subway, very, very good. I really liked that. The end, I don't know. I don't know that I was a really big fan of it. It was kind of 50-50 for me. So, Harry Osborn, while Peter Parker is still kind of connected to this symbiote, and so an asshole, his memory comes back. He remembers everything about Peter Parker and hating him. And so there's a big fight between Harry and Peter at Harry's house. And it was this thing where they kind of crash through this mirror that leads into like the glider area. So Harry picks up a bomb that gets thrown back from Peter Parker into his face. It explodes. It really hurts Harry. And then you get this really, really cheesy conversation between Harry and his butler, where the butler cleaned up Norman Osborn's wound, and he knows that it was Norman who killed himself with his own glider. It wasn't Peter Parker. And so eventually Harry goes to help Peter during a fight between Spider-Man, the Sandman, and Venom. And so that was kind of cool. They could have done the fight scenes a lot better, to be honest. It was kind of awkward. But I think the big penultimate moment was Venom takes the glider and stabs Harry with it straight through the chest and winds up killing him. So that was a big moment. You lose one of the major characters. And eventually Spider-Man takes one of the bombs that Goblin had and kind of traps Venom and in the cylindrical pipe thing where he just keeps making a bunch of noise. So this alien thing freaks out over the noise, and then he throws a bomb in. Eddie Brock, of course, tries to grab back onto Venom, and it explodes, kills both of them. And then you have this kind of touching scene at the end, which I thought was cool, between Mary Jane, Peter Parker, and Harry Osborn. But it wasn't enough to save this movie, that's for sure. It had a lot of issues, a lot of pacing issues, a lot of connectivity issues. Just like I said, too many more moving parts. And it just got very confused as to what it wanted to be. And so for that reason, I have to give it a 6 out of 10. I thought it was good. I mean, it's definitely better than I could do. But there were obvious issues with it. Obvious issues. That like I said, I don't know how somebody could take a look at this final cut and be like, yep, that was a great idea. So that's just kind of my thoughts on it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, hit the like button, subscribe, and share. My name is Kevin Jackowitz, Kaged Nation. Out.